Okay, we are alive. Nadia,
Hello.
I'm excited to have you on here. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me.
I haven't actually seen you in, was it
I think,
2019?
yeah, last year when I was in California for work, we came to your work and I saw you working.
That was such a nice little surprise.
I know. I'm so happy that it worked out.
Yeah, and now we're in quarantine, but anyway, first off, I
Yeah.
just want to thank you for taking the time to come on here. I know you're super busy and you have tons of interviews, which I've watched a few, and they've been really, really fun to just get a scoop on the update on what's been happening with you
Yeah.
after the
Yeah.
release.
No, I will always make time for people that I already know versus randos on the internet. So I'm happy to do this with you.
Thanks, girl. I just want to take a second, real quick, to make sure that we are on live. Yes, I believe we are. Okay, cool. So, I want to just first off, I want to touch on some of the questions that, some of the most common questions that you get regarding Indian Matchmaker, just so we can get those out of the way, and so we can really dive into the important subject matter at hand, which is dance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so what have been some of the most common questions that you get asked all the time, from other people or interviews? And if you want to just boom, boom, boom.
Just rattle them off. So I would say people always ask me, what's going on with Shaker? That's always question one. Whether are we married? Are we secretly dating? Are we, anything like that? Shaker and I are friends, and we talk, and so it was great to have met him, through this, and become friends. But yeah, we are not married. I'd say that's question one. People always ask me how is it working with the matchmaker? How was it? Was it something weird? Because obviously that's not really something that happens in America all
Yeah.
the time. I thought Simanti was great. I had a great experience with her. I understand, why she brought me each one of my matches. I understand, what she does is not easy at all, to work with people, and especially something so touchy in terms of their love life, or potentially the rest of their lives.
Yeah, very intimate.
It's a very hard thing, and people take it very seriously and very personally. And it's not easy. And so I had a great experience with her. I think the show brought to light that it can be done in a modern way. It's not like her forcing us into marriage. We have a choice in the matter. And so that was kind of hard. People ask me about my hair. People ask me about the most random things, is actually pretty frequent.
You have great hair.
Huh?
You have great hair.
Oh, thank you. Today it looks good. I actually straightened it yesterday, and then we're just gonna leave it here. But
It's also just really hard to put it up in a bun for a performance.
Right. It's difficult, especially when I had my bangs at one point. Oof, that was hard to put it up. But I would say those are probably the two biggest questions. People always want to know about, how my family was, or how I felt, having cameras follow me around, how my life has changed, those kinds of things. Having the cameras there was not really anything for me, because I've been dancing my whole life and done camera work, done work in front of the camera before. So I felt very comfortable. My family, from a young age, they knew I always had these kind of crazy ideas. And so when I came to them with hey, gonna do a Netflix show, they were just okay. And they just made it work. And so I was very lucky that my parents and my friends and family are very supportive of me.
Yeah, they're super supportive, and I'm glad that they got to join in on the show too. I loved your mom.
Thank you. She's the cutest.
She's the best.
Yeah.
She's the best mom. Well, what are you currently working on now since the show released?
Working on learning social media, because that was never a thing that I kind of thought about before. Just honestly, right now, working to stay afloat. It's a lot with trying to interact with people, because I love meeting people and I love talking to people and sharing, especially connecting with people who kind of, share very personal stories with me in my DMs. And I want to hear and take the time to listen to what they have to say. But at the same time, I do have a full-time job and also my business. And so it's just been a little bit of a balancing act to do everything. But
well, I'm happy we're going to get into that really, much later. But I just had one question. Do you have any potential suitors?
Not right now, honestly. You would think that it would have done the opposite, where like, yes, now I'm getting a lot of proposals in my DMs. But it's a weird thing where it's like, do you want to date somebody who's like slid into the DM? Like, is that a thing? I don't know. So right now, no potential suitors.
Yeah, because I remember we were talking about it just via text, and I was like, oh my gosh, you're gonna be exposed to so many penises.
Yeah. Yeah, the exposure is great. It's just that like it's a very weird thing to think of, like creating a relationship or even like dating somebody who just slid into your DM.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
I don't. So on the show, of course, I only watched your first 4 episodes because I wanted to see what was going on with my friend. But 2 things resonated with me for from your experience. You got ghosted, and that the act of ghosting. How have you dealt with, or have you been? Well, you've been ghosted. Audi ghosted you yesterday.
Audi ghosted me. I'm so mad at them. I'm so mad at them. We were just stranded on the side of the road, but that's a whole other issue.
Well, have you found a way to deal with the feeling of being ghosted?
I mean, I think even before this whole experience that was recorded, it was, it had happened before. You go on a date with someone, you like make plans to like hang out again, and then you just never hear from them. They fall off the face of the earth. And so you're just like, okay, on to the next one, like whatever. And I think I kind of touch on this on the show of like, I go in with like somewhat low expectations, but then like it sucks when it's like, okay, you're having a good time, you're enjoying this person's company and you want to see them again, and then they drop off the face of the earth with no explanation. And so that is unfortunate, but I think to move past it, like at this point, like the first few times I was just like, oh my God, how could they do this to me? Like, did I do something? Is it something that I said? Is it something I did? And you start blaming yourself, but most of the time it's them, it's not you. And so I think that's kind of helped me like move past these terrible situations that like, okay, if they like wanted to call, they would call me. Or if they wanted to see me again, they would tell me they want to see me again. And, actions speak louder than words. And if they don't show up or if they don't call or text, then they probably don't want to see me again. So just like, all right, keep it moving.
Keep it moving. I signed up for Hinge, and you inspired me to start dating again. Thank you very much.
Oh, I'm so happy about that. That's good. Yeah, I actually had a few really good dates from Hinge. And then obviously the pandemic came and dating just, took a turn. And but I'm so glad that you signed up.
Thanks. Yeah, I went on my first Zoom date last week, so that was.
How did that go?
It went surprisingly really well. I thought it was going to be awkward and it was just going to be like a 10-minute conversation, but 3 hours later we were still talking. And I think one thing that I would, if I had to give advice is to, just if you're texting each other through the app, just make sure you have a lot of things that you can talk about once you do decide to go on a Zoom. That way it's not like, so, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, but have you, do you ghost yourself?
I have done it, but like in my 20s, not, recently. So like as we get older, there's just no need. It's like either this is going to work or it's not going to work. Period.
Right. So how do you turn down guys if you're just like
maybe like, you know, I had a great time, but like maybe this isn't for me, or I had a great time, but like, you know, I just don't see this, you know, going anywhere. If you want to be friends, cool. If not, like, cool. That's like kind of it. And then bye.
yeah, I think it's being straightforward. It's kind of it doesn't waste both of your time. So that's always the best approach. The other thing that resonated with me in the show was, you know, your Guyanese and the feeling of not being Indian enough. And a lot of people have, you know, experienced that for sure, and not just in life, but also in dance as well. But is that something that still bothers you in just life in general?
Not so much anymore. I think in my past relationships, as you know, it was always a struggle of like, I want a Gujarati girl. I want this type of girl. And I'm like, boo-boo, like, I'm over here doing the Garba with you. Like, what more can you ask for? And it's like, that kind of stuff. I was like, seriously, like, that's not good enough? Or like, you know, it makes me does that make me a bad person because I'm not like Gujarati, or does it make me a bad person because I'm not like whatever? Like that to me, like never felt like it should have been a criteria or like a criteria for somebody. But I think seeing all of this play out on the show, and then, you know, as I've just like gotten older and just been like, I don't even care at this point. Like if somebody doesn't think I'm Indian enough, it's because I'm probably not Indian enough, because I am Guyanese, and that's who I am. And yes, my culture is a fusion of the two, of like Caribbean culture and Indian culture. But I also grew up in America and in New Jersey, and my town was not super diverse. And so I was one of a very few handful of, you know, colored people in my school. And so it was just like, okay, I have all of these different things. So yeah, maybe I'm not Indian enough. Like, that's fine. So at this point, I'm like, okay. But yeah, growing up, it was definitely a struggle for me. And dating brown guys that's kind of, you know, reared its ugly head time and time again.
Yeah. And are you still kind of aiming for the brown guy?
Like I said on the show, I just think there is some type of ease or comfort in knowing that you don't have to explain every single thing to them.
The
or you
unspoken.
don't. Correct. But no, I am open to anybody and everybody. It's just when you're on a show called Indian Matchmaking, it's, you know, kind of a focus. But I would say I'm definitely open to meeting anybody.
Awesome. Well, I want to dive into dance now, and the idea of, well, before we go into that question of not being enough as an Indian dancer. Basically, this channel is all about helping dancers further their career in the industry with providing tips or advice, and just, you know, sharing experiences from other dancers such as yourself. So I'm totally excited to talk to you about your own experience with dance, and I've known you since
2012, right?
Really?
Original.
I think 2015, I want to say.
No, when we came to California for that first, like the stripper bus tour, wasn't that 2000?
No, I wasn't on that.
No?
Yeah,
Oh
no.
no.
Yeah, I think I first met you when we did that one.
Wait, did you do original NJ Pack?
I did original NJ
Okay,
Pack.
that was 2013.
I think, okay, then yes, I think so. That was when Melvin was Bam Bam, right?
Yes. Yeah, that was, yes. Yeah, that was 2013.
Okay.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
That's crazy. I've known you for so long.
Yeah.
Well, we've definitely experienced so much together as dancers and touring with Mystic India, the show, and being part of, a Bollywood dance company, Atma Performing Arts in New Jersey, and, all the other experiences we've had as an artist and you as a model as well. Are you dancing these days?
I have kind of slowed down on my dancing. Once I started my business, I kind of prioritized that a little bit more. But of course, whenever I have the moment that I can dance, I do.
Nice. How I want to know how you got started in dance. What drew you to dance, and why do you continue to do it, especially with where you are in your business?
It was my mom who started it all. She actually went to a show at lunchtime with some of her coworkers, and they had this like Indian dance group performing there. And she went up to the girls and she just asked them, like, where do you take classes? And she found my dance teacher that way. And then, yeah, I was about like 3 or 4 years old at that point, and I started class. She was actually taking class too because they had an adults class, so she would go as well. And so she did it for a few years, and then she stopped. But yeah, that was kind of how I got started. And then, by my parents putting me in as kind of anybody starts something, especially when you're that young. And then, I continued because I loved it. It was like, I don't even know, like when I was young, I guess I didn't know like what I loved truly about it. I just loved going there and like hanging out with my friends in class and learning things. And then as I grew up, I realized that, okay, I love being on stage. I love like working towards something. And I was always an athlete, like growing up as well. And so it was that same kind of like mindset of like everyone on the team is working towards a goal. And like when we would do competitions, it's the same thing, right? The same way you prepare.
Right.
So yeah, I continued dancing. So through high school, then I was on the college Garba team. And then after college, I joined Atma. And yeah, I continued dancing, like I said, just because it's been my passion my whole life. And it's something, on a good day, on a bad day, on any kind of day, it just always made me feel good. Most days it made me feel good. Sometimes,
Most
yeah,
days.
most days it made me feel good. And that, and then like as I got older, it kept me in shape. And so that was like always a benefit too. When I didn't wanna, I never had to go to the gym until like I had kind of like stopped dancing as frequently. And then I was like, oh man, I didn't realize how many calories I burned at practice. And so then I started having to go to the gym. But yeah, it's brought me a long way, and it's something that I truly enjoy. So I just kept doing it.
Yeah, I think that's one thing with dance, that it gives you a sense of purpose and community, and that's really, really huge. And I feel like that's one of the things that dancers have been struggling with this year, is because that sense of their identity, of a huge part of their identity, has been lost this year because of the pandemic. And what have been some of the things that have kept you motivated this year, despite not being able to dance with everyone, and kind of losing out on that daily or weekly community, just being able to dance with people?
Yeah. Well, I know like one thing, I didn't join TikTok, but I enjoyed watching other people's TikTok dances. And so I know that was kind of something that brought dancers together, or people who just
That's
like
true.
to keep moving or to find some kind of creative outlet. I know that was something that a lot of other people did. I think just from my life in general, even like outside of dance, I was like going to a trainer, and then my trainer switched to like online classes. And so I still got to see the girls, and I still got to, we would, still get to chat, and like those types of things of just taking something that you were doing before and just making it work for what we were going through now. And to be able to see, like, you still see results, you still see your friends, you get that interaction, obviously not in the same way, but I think that definitely helped to make me feel like I was like doing something. But in terms of dance, like I think a lot of dancers very quickly mobilized to teaching dance workshops online or teaching classes. And so I found myself, as hard as it was probably for them to, adapt and very quickly switch that, I found myself being like, well, I don't know, how do you take a Zoom class? How do you take a Zoom dance class? How do I dance in my living room? There's no Marley in my living room. Like, how am I supposed to do this? And so going to the first one, I was a little hesitant. And then I realized like, oh, wow, this is actually good. So then I started like signing up for, dance workshops online and just like keeping myself moving and having fun. And just, it was hard to do, but it was definitely something that I found like kind of fulfilling and, helping me to just continue.
Whose workshops did you take?
Well, I did the Afro Desi one.
Nice.
I did, Melvin did a Bharatanatyam workshop. So that was really fun. And then like we would just, him and Danya like tried to choreo a piece for our friend. Do you know Kush? You might know Kush. So we tried to choreo a piece for Kushal, not like baby Kush. There's like another.
Oh, okay. No, I don't think so.
Okay, I wasn't sure if you were on the team when he was there. We tried to like choreo a piece for him, so like that was fun. So like finding ways to just like work together was great. So he sent us this track, and we'd be like, okay, what about like this like 6 count? What about like this 8 count? What about this? And yeah, so that was fun. But yeah, the Afro Desi one was something I was trying to take for a very long time, like an actual class. And then once like Atma hosted it, I was like, I need to do this.
Yeah. That was tough because of the delay in the music.
Yeah, I mean, moving to virtual, it was probably one step, and then everybody dealing with tech problems was a whole other layer of complexity. But you make it work, and you just you roll with it.
Yeah, I mean, I still had fun. I love what those two are doing. I took a dance workshop with them here when they were in LA, and I absolutely had a blast because I love Afro. Love it.
Yeah.
How you're not shy.
No.
You're not a shy woman. Have you always been this way? Has dance played a big part in helping you cultivate your inner confidence? And do you have any advice for people who are kind of just working up towards their confidence as a person or as an artist?
Yeah. I think dance played a huge part in this, in me being confident and not shy, because I think it's something I even tried to teach like my students, between like my 4 and 6-year-olds, like, because that was like prime age for me too. Like, how do you teach a 5-year-old or a 4-year-old, like, you're going to be on a stage and there's going to be bright lights shining on you and you just need to go. And then like, how do you instill that? Right. So, with that, it was like kind of having that like positive reinforcement of like, you did a great job. You know what you're doing. Like, just having that support and having like, my girls in my class, like, we support each other. Like, okay, you did that really well, or you did this really well. And then when we all do it together, like, wow, that was great. And so I think like having that, and then when you go on stage and then like seeing people stand up and like clap for you, and you're just like, wow, this is good. Like, if I, can take this moment and like freeze it and be like, okay, if I do everything I just did, people will clap for me again. And then like, right? Because that's at the end of the day, you want to, it's for entertainment, or in it, that's like the satisfaction too. Like, okay, I did all the right steps to fulfill my goal of entertaining the people that were in front of me. And so that really helps to, to build your confidence. People like what they're seeing. And if I smile, then it looks even better. I look very nice and friendly, and, it's appealing to the audience. And so those are all kind of like very small things that over time, kind of build to now. And I think like modeling also kind of helped me with that, because it's like people are staring at you and critiquing every little thing on your body. How do you overcome kind of like body dysmorphia or like any body issues that you have, and just be like, I'm just going to rock this. And at a certain point, you just have to say like, who cares what you think? or who cares what this person thinks? Like, I am me, I love me, and I'm just going to do it. And even if you're faking it, that's fine too. Like, you just have to own whatever you're doing. I would say my advice for people who are, you know, working on themselves or working on their confidence. I mean, even practicing in the mirror. That's kind of how I sometimes when I prepare for presentations and stuff, I'll do my presentation in the mirror, and like I'll try and make eye contact with myself to be like, can I focus in on somebody when I'm talking, or like, can I bring a smile while I'm speaking, or like, how does my body language like translate to this, and how is that going to make the other person feel? So like understanding the other side of it then helps me like work. I don't know, it's like a very weird process that I go through for this. I just think about like on the receiving end, like what do they want to see? And then I'm like, okay, if they want to see a smiling face, somebody who knows what they're talking about, okay, how do I practice to make sure I know what I'm talking about, or to make sure that I know that I'm putting like my best self out there. And so, yeah, I kind of like, I guess then work backwards of like what I want my audience to see, and then what are the steps I have to do to get there. Does that make sense?
Smart. Reverse engineer.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Do you have any go-to poses
For like pictures?
for modeling?
My blue steel is coming soon. No, I don't really, or I don't think I have like a signature. I mean, my smile, I think at this point is kind of just like
Yeah.
my go-to.
100%. Yeah, you're definitely a smiling. But I always when I look at influencers and stuff, they always just have like that.
But yeah, the like mouth slightly open. like
What?
very candid. Yeah, no. I have no idea what I'm doing as like an influencer. So I wouldn't even be able to give anybody advice on that. I have nothing.
Well, I definitely think you have a lot in terms of being able to share your experiences as a dancer. I want to go into, you know, for any South Asian or person who was enrolled in a cultural dance form as a child, or just, you know, they were enrolled initially for it to just be a hobby. That transition that you make going from a teenager or a child to an adult, I wanna kind of go into that. Like, what was your experience like when you realized that dance wasn't necessarily a choice that you could have to continue as an adult, and then the decision that you made, and you know what caused you to just say, screw it, I'm still going to be a dancer despite what you think, parents slash society slash.
Yeah, I struggled with that with my parents forever. I think the moment that I kind of realized that I was making the choices was, I think when I probably was a freshman in high school. That would probably be the like moment where I can remember, because I was doing 3 sports. Obviously, high school is like the next, you know, big phase of somebody's life, or becoming an adult. And that's when I started getting involved in competition. And that's when I realized that like I would go to school, then I would have sports after school, and then in the evening, like 6:30 or 7:30 was my class, and we would drive, and then I would come home and then do homework. And I'm like, you know, everyone's like, why are you still dancing? Like, oh, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, I love it. And then like competition time, we'd have practice like 2 to 3 times a week, or like on the weekends. And then we would, you know, I would have to like miss out on things, or I would have to go from one thing to the next thing to the next thing. And that was like the choice that I was making, but I loved it so much. And then when I went to college, and then like my parents were like, well, now you have to stop dancing because now you're in college and you have to focus on your future. And I'm like, well, I can do both, because I had classes during the day, and then we had rehearsals in the evening. Classes, you know, ended, I think the last class was 8:40 and practice was about 9:30. And so I was like, oh, it's not going to interfere. Girl, I was on academic probation 2 times because I was
way.
dance just consumed my life, and I let it do that. And obviously, if I can go back, I would 100% do it different. I would still dance. Don't get me wrong. I would still dance, but I would definitely not like stay at practice until 2 a.m. or 6 a.m. and like then go home and try and write a paper or go take an exam the next day. Like it was bad. I let it consume me. And I think at that point, I still made the choice to be like, okay, I'm going to keep doing this because I loved it so much. And like the last 2 years of college, I was the captain. And so I was like, I need to lead my team and like show them that, you know, you can like do this. And then even after college, once I started working, continuing to dance. And I think my mom kind of touched on this. She's like, you spent too much time at dance. And I was like, you put me in this. Like, you did this. Like, don't get mad at me that I liked it and wanted to continue. Even after, obviously, rehearsals sometimes are in the evenings or, again, on weekends, and I would have to miss things. And people got so mad at me when they're like, oh, you're not going to come to brunch because you have to go to practice. Oh, you're not going to come to my birthday because you had a long day at practice and you're too tired. And I'm like, sorry, not sorry, honestly. It was just something that I wanted to do. And I'm just a firm believer, if you want to do something, you make the time for it, or you make the sacrifices that you need to do it. And so I just kept doing that. And so here we are, like, 30 years later, still
doing it.
Yeah.
Still making sacrifices.
Yes.
Yeah, a lot of people don't understand the amount of sacrifices you have to make to be a dancer, and not even just not a professional dancer, but even just a dancer in general. You can't hang out with certain people. A lot of your friends who are 9-to-5ers, rehearsals are in the evening, performances are on the weekdays, and those people just tend to either, one, not understand, and they get mad at you for it.
Yeah.
Anyway, I also wanted to touch on, what are your thoughts on, I feel like your experience and a lot of our experiences with rehearsals and, being in dance competition teams could have been a little bit easier. I feel had the people been a little bit more mindful as far as not having rehearsals until 4 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts on that? And I mean, I obviously know that you have goals, you have competitions to win, you have a show to get done. But as somebody who's been part of a production before, what's your take on the importance of looking at it from a holistic perspective and understanding that dancers can't, that's not really the most healthy approach to that?
Yeah, I think I'm on both sides of the fence. On the one side, I get that you just have to get it done, right? So like you have to hit that number, you have to hit that formation, you have to hit that like whatever, and you do whatever it takes to make that happen. But then on the flip side of it, on the dancer side of it, your body can only do so much. And without rest, without food, without water, sleep, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, you just can't function. You can't hit that formation because you don't have energy to carry you to the formation. Or like you can't bring 110% because you only have 30% left and you're on low battery and you're like, how am I going to do this? And then, once fatigue kicks in, then like bicker, like all the stuff, that
the drama sets in.
Yeah.
Do you have any sorry to interrupt, but also, do you have any advice for people who are stuck in that position where it's a 4 a.m. rehearsal and you have a midterm coming up and you don't have the way to articulate it in a proper way to, your company director or whoever it is? Do you have any advice on that? Have you had to go through something like that?
I mean, in college, I definitely went through something like that. I remember I had a women's studies paper due, like, I think my class was like 9:40 or 8:40 or something in the morning. And I was like, oh, after practice, I'm going to go home, write my paper like 2 in the morning when I thought I would like leave practice or 12, whatever time. And I was like, I'll just pull an all-nighter, write my paper, go to class. We didn't get out of practice till 6 a.m. And then I went home, showered. My best friend wrote my paper for me while I was in the shower, and I ran to my class. And I was like, I will never again do this. Obviously, as a freshman or a sophomore in college, I'm not going to be like, hi, senior, I'm going to go like do my paper now. And like, this competition doesn't matter to me. I think looking back at it as an older Nadia now, not having to write papers anymore, I would have been like, sorry, this is actually really important. School comes first. I don't want to fail women's studies. I'm out.
Right.
Like, I've given you 5 hours of my life already. That's all I can give tonight. And now I need to go do this other thing. Because looking back, like, I don't even know if we placed at that competition. I don't even know if it was like worth it. Like, what did we really get done between the hours of 2 a.m. and 6 a.m. that would have drastically impacted the performance in any way, right? So I would say I would have just, now it's easy for me to say I would have just been like, sorry, that's it. But like at the time, I didn't know how to do that or how to like say, because I wanted to dance and I wanted to win. I wanted to like be there for the team and not be the girl who is going to leave and walk out of practice. But like, honestly, I wish I did. Like, you have to stand up for yourself and for your future, especially if you're in school and dancing. It's, you dedicate a few hours and you go and you have your fun and you practice, but then you need to also do, you need to study.
Yeah. Well, how would you word that? So, going back to that age, where you were kind of like, how do you think you would word it now as opposed to like, peace, bye? I feel like realistically, I mean, I could do it now, but realistically back then, I don't think I could have done that. So how do you think someone could word it properly to where they can get their point across, but, not seem disrespectful at the same time, I guess, or not pulling it in for the team,
Yeah. I mean, I think if I was as a now person, I would be like, sorry that we can't get this down. But, I think we've, really tried our best in the last X hours. But I have a paper that's due tomorrow, or I have a test that I need to study for. And, it's very important to me. This is also very important to me, but, I've given my time here tonight, and I think I also need to go home and spend my time there because that's also important. I think, hopefully they understand, and then you can be like, okay, peace. Because I think it's just not okay to keep people. And you just say like, I gave my time, you give your 110% in whatever hours that you're there, or you just let them know ahead of time, hey, I have a paper tomorrow, I need to leave before this certain time. And you just let them know beforehand, so you don't have to say anything in front of everybody.
Right. I think so too. Yeah. Saying it beforehand always helps.
Yes. If it's something you're aware of.
Right.
Yeah.
And they can do whatever they need to get done in that amount of time.
Correct.
So, do you have any advice for people who want to continue pursuing dance, but they don't have that kind of support system around them?
I would just do it, Nike. I would say, I mean, if you want to continue, and I mean, if you're an adult, you can afford to pay for classes or take classes like, on your own, just do it. Just feel like, I mean, it's your life, right? If you have the time, if you are passionate about it, if you have the means to go about it, obviously right now things are a little bit iffy with, taking in-person class, but even if you want to take an online class, just do it. Just because, if you believe in it, but somebody else is not supporting you, maybe once you do it and you show them that you actually care about it or you're actually passionate about it, maybe then they'll start to support because they see that you're like serious about it. But if you're always just saying like, I want to do this, and then you just don't do it, then like, how is anybody going to believe or support if you're just saying it and not doing it?
Right.
So I would say just start. And I mean, that even goes for like entrepreneurship too. Like just start. It's the hardest part because people might not support you in the beginning. Like, oh, you're going to start your own business. Oh, just take the safe route and do X, Y, Z. But like, I think when you start putting actions to it, then people can be like, wow, she's actually serious about this, or she's doing it. I can support her now because I see that she's moving in the right direction or moving towards, whatever the goals are.
Right. Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I didn't even tell people I was starting a YouTube channel for months.
Yeah.
And that was also because I had an idea, but I didn't want to let other people talk me out of it.
Exactly.
So
exactly. I listen to a lot of like business podcasts, and the number one thing they always say is that like they didn't tell anybody their idea until it was like fully fleshed out, fully thought through, fully this, even if until they were like in contract. Like the girl who started Spanx, she said,
Sarah Blakely is amazing.
Yeah. Like she was like, I didn't tell anybody for like a year that I was doing this. And she's like, not until I was like contracted and like actually made my first like sample did I like say anything. Cause she's like, I was talked out of so many meetings, so many this, people laughed at me, blah, blah, blah. And she was just like, and then all of a sudden when I had like my finished product, and then everyone was like, oh, wow. And then they were like on board with her because she actually like made it happen. So I think those types of things are so important to just be like, just start, just do it. And then people will see that you actually care about it or you're actually passionate about it. And then they'll be like, I want to support you because you love this so much.
Yeah, no, it's so true. And if did you ever watch her masterclass? She has a masterclass.
Oh, does she? No, I haven't.
Yeah, it's awesome, especially for female entrepreneurs. I would highly recommend you watch it. Her story is such a great one.
Yeah.
You and I are, we know each other through a Bollywood company. So we're both Indian Bollywood dancers. I want to touch back on the idea of not being Indian enough.
Mm-hmm.
And what's your advice for dancers who are in Bollywood companies who may not necessarily maybe they don't know the language, maybe they didn't grow up with the culture, they're not in tune. That's something that you experienced growing up also.
Yeah. I would say growing up, it was hard because I was like the only person who didn't understand the language growing up. And we didn't have the internet, or there was no like Google Translates thing that I could use, right? And so my dance teacher would have to go line by line and explain every movement to me, or explain like why my expressions had to be a certain way, or if I had to feel sad at one part or happy at one part. Because if I was just smiling, but I'm talking about like my lover dying, like that doesn't make sense, right? So they would have to go line by line and explain it to me. And so like that kind of stuff was hard. But then now I would say if you are in a Bollywood or any type of, any style of dance of a company that you are not used to or you're not familiar with, I would say do your research. We have so many tools at our disposal now, and such access to be able to learn about it. Watch Bollywood movies, go online and look up the songs that you are doing. Type in, the name of the song plus translation, English translations. Mm-hmm. And then you'll see, what they're saying, what your expression should be like. Watch the movie and see what the actress or actor is doing. What's the story around that song? And so I would, do your research. It's so easy now to learn and find things very easily. Talk to friends who also, might be in the company, or, in the class or whatever you're taking. Just don't go in, like kind of blindly because then sometimes it gets lost in translation when you're performing, and that's something you're going to want to avoid.
Yeah, and that really affects your performance for sure. Is knowing what you're dancing about. Duh.
Yeah.
And that's something that I had to work out through too, because I am not familiar with the language, and I had to watch a ton of films and certain gestures like I didn't grow up with and all of that. So you're absolutely beautiful on stage. I always love watching you on stage. What do you feel like has helped you become a better performer? And I also want to ask you if you have any amazing, embarrassing performance moments.
Oh my God, I have so many. To be a better performer on stage. I think just being around other dancers, like being at rehearsal and seeing you or Bliss or, you know, any of the other girls on the company, you know, people who have more experience or less experience, and being like, okay, if like, oh, how are they doing? Like, oh, she did it really good. Like, let me see what she's doing and how do I incorporate that? Or like, you know, for certain pieces, you're like, okay, well, how is this person like exuding this emotion? Or when you watch it, you're like, oh, I really like how she's doing that. How do I make that me? So I think helping me to be a better performer is being around other people who are also good performers, or not even maybe, you know, as good, but if I can teach somebody something, then like maybe that can make me better, because I'm like, oh, maybe I can take my own advice, because you know, like you might be able to see something in somebody and be like, well, I need to do that too. Or like, oh, I saw this person doing it, so maybe I can help this person and help myself at the same time. So like, I think it kind of goes both ways. And yeah, that's probably what's helped me bring my, you know, energy through, or my inner radiance onto the stage.
Yes.
And, I would say, God, there's so many embarrassing like stories from. I've had my blouse pop off. We were in the middle of a gig one time, and my blouse I felt it open, but I was wearing like my ordinary on my head, so it was covering my back, like it was tucked into my skirt. So I knew that it wasn't like completely open. Some woman gets up, comes to me on this during the gig, and she like tries to tie my blouse, and I'm like, I'm dancing right now, lady. Like, what are you doing? And that I was just like, are you kidding me? Obviously, my ordinary has fallen off. There was one gig that me and Hurl did, and there was musical equipment that was lining the back and the sides of the stage. And we were doing, oh my God, what was the song?
Children.
And so we're doing Chilman. And so I was doing like my spins out to the side, and my arm goes out, and like down goes one of the music stands. And so just like so many random things. There have been times, you know, you're doing like a last minute change, like, and you're like running on stage and like pinning your knee into your head, like as you're entering the stage. So many stories like that. Luckily, nothing has really fallen off. So that's good. But yeah, that one where the lady came and was trying to tie my blouse in the middle of our performance. I was like, what are you doing?
Chick!
Yeah.
Sit back down.
So that was a trip. But yeah, it's been a wild ride.
Yeah, there's always costume malfunctions is always going to be an issue.
We try our best to eliminate them, but you can't eliminate them all.
Yeah. What has helped you kind of in those moments? Like, what do you do in those moments?
Besides panic, panicking is the opposite of what you should be doing. But I mean, honestly, the thing that's helped is just remain calm, because when you're panicking, you can't tie something together. When you're panicking, your bells aren't going to come off any faster. So like, kind of just taking a breath and being like, okay, I'm just going to open it slowly and just do it. And that's it. And, you know, even if you have to enter 5 seconds later, or, you know, you find your place where you can enter where it makes sense. And just telling yourself like, that's okay. Obviously, if you're the lead, even better, because you can just kind of do whatever you want. But if, you know, you're part of the kind of like ensemble of that piece, then, you know, you just, as a dancer, use the kind of tools or the tips that we're taught, and make it back on, you know, as gracefully as you can. But yeah, do not panic. That is the last thing you want to do. Remain calm.
Keep the smile on your face, always.
Yeah. Your whole uniform could be falling off, but just keep the face on. Yes.
Hello. Nothing is happening.
Yeah, everything's fine.
So I want to transition because I don't want to take up any more of your time, but as a business owner, and I know that being an event planner, because I actually started assisting event planners last year, very recently, and I saw, okay, this is actually very similar to putting on a show or just being in that dance world. And I want to give, since dancers are kind of suffering through a tragic time this year. Um, what are some skills that you learned through dance that have translated into, your other jobs as a way for dancers to kind of get an idea of what else that they could do alongside dance?
I actually use dance in all of my interviews as an analogy, like for my work. I remember when I went for the interview for the job that I currently have. My boss asked me, tell me about yourself. And so I told her I was a dancer, blah, blah. And then she asked me, well, what skills have you learned through dance that do you think translate to this? And so I have always used this analogy where dance, preparing for a show, is the same way I would prepare for a presentation at work or for like a day at work. So if I have a presentation at work, I would be like, okay, end result is people cheering for my presentation at the end, right? And then how do I work backwards from that? So I have my presentation here. Okay, now I need to learn my presentation. And so that's the same amount of practice that needs to go into to learn this 2 hour speech that I have to give, right? And so I'm going to hit my main points. And so that's kind of like, either hitting my formations or hitting some kind of peaks within the performance. There are always moments where you have to give a little bit more, where there are moments where you can kind of take a step back and breathe a little bit. And then like, obviously you're still dancing, but those moments of energy shifts. And so within a presentation, there's also those same moments where things you need to emphasize a little bit more, and then moments where you can kind of draw it back. And so, okay, well, how do I get to knowing all of these things? Well, I need to break it down. And so, you learn an 8 count was like the kind of the same thing to learning a presentation. Okay, slide 1, that's my first 8 count. Slide 2 is my second 8 count. And so like using all of these building blocks and just breaking down real life things and being like, okay, I have this, this, and this. Or like if I'm doing a group project, it's the same thing as doing like a presentation with a whole troop of people. Everyone has to know what's happening. Everyone has to know, what their responsibilities are during this performance or during this like group project. There's so many skills that translate. And then again, like you said, those skills also translate to planning, event planning, where the end goal is this amazing wedding or amazing performance that you're putting on for somebody. And then what are the steps you need to get to this end goal? So you need other vendors who are going to help you. You need a timeline so that you know exactly what is happening at the same time. You're going to need, your team to be able to be there and support and bring this to life the same way it would be for a group performance or for a competition. And so, if you break down these little moments, there's so many parallels between the two. So whether it's like, working a typical 9 to 5, those skills still translate, or even just, for starting your own business or, event planning, as you said.
Yeah, chunking I feel like makes a huge difference, and it feels less overwhelming for sure, especially when you're transitioning from, say, dance to a side hustle or starting a new business like this. That really helps for sure. Have you, in your experience of event planning, have you had to deal with difficult clients? Have you had some bridezillas, and how do you deal with them?
So honestly, my brides have all been amazing. I've had some
That's nice.
groomzillas.
Groomzillas. How about
Yeah,
momzillas?
parents you can deal with. I think as long as you're with parents, I think being the outsider, it's not like you're the bride who's telling it to them. Coming in, and I always make it a point to meet all of my couple's parents and the families before the event day. But being the outsider, it's a little bit easier. If you are assertive but sweet, that's kind of my approach to handling parents, because you just need to tell them, this is what you need to do, auntie or uncle. Like, we have to do this at this time, and like, please. And then you just kind of like move ahead, because you are on a schedule and they're paying you to make sure their event goes on time, or to make sure their event goes smoothly. And so if this is what needs to get done for it to go smoothly, like, and you know that as their planner, you just need to make it happen, right? And so you do what it takes. But yeah, the parents have most of the time have been pretty, flexible and just kind of going along with what I say. Like I said, I like to make it a point to meet my couple's parents beforehand, so they get to know me and they understand what the day is going to look like. I try and lay it out as best I can. But there's still sometimes, but most of the time, honestly, it's the groom who's like, how come this, like, or what are we doing here? What are we doing? I'm like, you were not stressed leading up to this at all. You didn't do anything, but like, if you were involved just a little bit and like learned the details beforehand, you wouldn't be stressed today. Like, or
or why is he even saying that? Because he obviously hasn't been drinking enough.
Right, that too. Like, yeah, I don't know, but yeah, I've sometimes had like a tougher time with the grooms than I have with my brides, because they've stressed leading up to it, but then on the day of, they have nothing to stress about because I'm doing everything for them, and they know that at that point. And so whereas for the groom, he wasn't stressed leading up, and then on the day of, he's like, whoa, and I'm like, I got you. But yeah, there's been interesting stories, but I think in any customer facing or client facing role, you're going to deal with difficult personalities. And I think for me, I try and learn those kind of quirks about people kind of upfront, especially as I enter into contracts and things with them. But kindness goes along
ahead of time.
Huh?
Just say, again, it's like saying ahead of time.
Yeah, exactly. So, learning things ahead of time, or learning, little qualities that you might notice about somebody, like right off the bat, like, oh, they ask a lot of questions about this, or they're going to ask a lot of things about this. So for the next meeting now, like, I'm prepared with all my possible questions for them, or like why I'm doing something, or, being able to support the way that they want to work. But yeah, like I was saying, I think kindness goes a long way. So just being a good person, like, if you're rude to them when they're rude to you, that is very counterproductive. And I think that goes for anything across the board. And so it's not helpful. And I think being in a client industry, you have to be nice. If you want to go home and bitch and complain about it when you're at home, that's on your own time. But like, when you are in front of a client, you are professional, you are kind, you are, put together. And, you have to make it known that there's, no problem that the two of you like can't figure out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That goes for relationships too.
I think so. Communication is key.
Yeah.
Communication. I always say it's always better to just lay it all out in the beginning. Lay it all out. That way there are no surprises,
No.
So I have one last, big question, and then before we move on to our very quick, I call them 5, 6, 7, 8 fire questions. You're a fragrance marketer, you're an event, you have your own business, and you're still a dancer. Like, how do you juggle all this? What tools have you created for yourself to kind of stay sane?
So for me, it was managing my time, and I live my life by my calendar or my planner. I did actually used to have a very old school like notebook planner, and I would write every single thing down. Now I've transitioned that over to my Google Calendar, and if you look at it, it is a cluster of colors, because every color, one thing is work, one thing is my business, one thing is interviews, one thing is this. And so I have just really started managing my time, and I'm like, okay, I set 2 hours to do XYZ. I'm going to do that. 9 to 5 already booked because I have work. When I come home from work, I'm setting 2 hours in the evening to sit down and do contracts, to do my website, to do my like ideas for content and things like that. And so instead of just sitting down and turning Netflix on, yeah, I can still turn Netflix on, but I have my laptop with me and I'm doing things like that. And I think for me, I want to do all of these things. And so that want has to be there, because otherwise you're not going to do it. If you don't truly like desire to do something, then you're just going to be like, oh, I'll do it tomorrow. Well, blah, blah, blah. But like these things are important to me. And so I make the time to do it. And yes, sometimes you have to say no to hanging out with friends, or you have to say no to like being able to watch a movie on a Tuesday night, with a friend, because like, oh, I have a contract to do or something like that. But I would say to manage everything and keep myself sane is relying on my calendar and being very diligent in only working in the time that I allotted myself. I get what I have to get done in that time. And if I don't get it done, then I work on it the next day, or if I have flexibility, then I finish. But time management is so important.
Yeah, I think so too. But there's also a learning curve with that, especially if
yes,
you're not used to it.
Exactly.
Well, let's go on to our 5, 6, 7, 8 questions, and then I will let you go.
Okay.
Do you have any implements? Do you have any habits that you've implemented this year that have, made a positive shift for you?
This year, I did start doing yoga with Adrienne on YouTube. She is like, she has all different levels of videos and things that you can try. That was something that I started doing pretty consistently during quarantine. And it's really helped me to like, just stay calm. And like, I didn't realize how wonderful stretching how good you feel after you do yoga. And so the other day, like this weekend, I was just so stressed. And so Saturday morning, my cousin hosts actually a yoga class for like all of our little, like our cousins group. And so I did the yoga class, and I was like, that was the first one I had done in a few weeks. And I felt so good after. And I was like, I need to continue making the time for this. So I would say yoga has really helped me this year.
Nice. So I would say that kind of ties into my next question, which is, what are some self-care practices that have helped you? Do you have any other ones besides your yoga classes?
That I would say, I started trying to make like a every other week schedule to like do a mask, or like now that the, places are open, I like went to get a facial, and like just things to make me feel better about myself. But I would say, just even at home stuff, you can still make masks at home, do your nails, or like, just.
I'm loving your color.
Thank you. It's like a little fall transition color, but also still a little but yeah, I mean, go to sleep early, turn your phone off and go to sleep. Like that is the simplest form of self-care you can give yourself, is like a good night's sleep.
No, that's so true.
Yeah.
It's so hard at the same time.
I know.
Yeah. I have a couple of more questions for you.
Yeah.
What are you most proud of this year?
This year, the show. It was something we shot last year, and it was something I wasn't expecting. And I think aside from the show launching, I think what I'm most proud of was the fact that, well, I didn't even know that it was happening, but after the fact is what made me so proud, was being able to share my story, but then seeing the response from people being like, I've never seen an Indo-Caribbean person on such a mainstream platform before. I've never seen a Guyanese person. I've never seen, a person of this and this. And so many people sharing their stories, and they're like, you inspire me, and you are the person that like, kind of like put us on the map. And I didn't think that me being on the show was going to do any of that. And so I'm so proud to be that person. And so I think that was like a really big moment for me.
Everyone loves you. Everyone that I know absolutely adores you, and they watch the show and they're just like, hi, we love Nadia. We love her so much. She was so real. you know, her being on her period. I get you, girl. I get you.
I told mine yesterday. I hate it. I hate having my period.
Well, my last question for you is, do you have any advice to give to the younger generation of dancers who want to still continue pursuing dance and or you know, for single ladies?
Hey, yeah, okay. I would say for younger generation looking to continue, whether it's, you know, continuing into college or after college, continuing into, you know, adulthood, like, you know, when you're working or whatever. I would say, I mean, we kind of touched on this before, like, you know, if you truly are passionate about it, just make the time for it and people will support you. You know, that now that they see that, you know, it's something that you really want to do. I would say also, even though you might be prioritizing that, don't forget about the other parts of your life. It's great to make time for dance and to do it and to take class and to continue learning, but you also can't forget about your family, about your friends, about if you're still in school, like don't forget about your school. Like I sound like such an old lady to be like, make sure you study, but like make sure you study and take the time to like learn in, you know, even if it's not even in the traditional form of, you know, in school, even after you've graduated, and you know, you might be working, still continuing to read or just research things online, like if even if it's around dance, if that's something that you still want to do. But I would say prioritize it, continue it if you're passionate, but just make sure it doesn't take over the other parts of your life, because you need to be able to find that balance in order to have like a very well-rounded, you know, experience for yourself.
Yeah, that's really good advice because dancers tend to be so passionate about what they do and they will just put everything else in the back burner. And, you know, it's not really the healthiest thing because you have to realize that that's just one aspect of your life. And the other aspects definitely need just as much attention as your passion for dance. So, what about single ladies?
Oh, single ladies, my girls. Okay. So, honestly, live your best life. I would say it's hard. Trust me, this is much easier said than done. It is hard as a single lady to be like, let me just go on, I'm gonna do, and people are always like, you'll meet somebody when you least expect it, la la la. They're probably right, because every story I've ever heard is just like, I was just walking in the grocery store and my husband came up to me in the grocery, you know, like random things like that. And so you like to be able to like plan your life around like, oh, like I'm gonna go and like try and meet this, or I'm gonna do this. Like, yeah, it's great, go on dates and experience those things, but like don't be upset if it like doesn't go anywhere. I think so. I read this book. It's called It's Just a Fucking Date, and it completely changed my outlook on dating. Where dating is just two people, two humans going to meet each other to share a meal, share a drink, share an activity, and if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. You're not getting married on the date. So like, you know, don't put so much pressure on yourself to be a certain way or to feel a certain way, to act a certain way. Just be you, and if they like you, they'll call you, and if they don't, then that's okay too. Just live your best life, and I think once you actually are living your best life, that confidence, that self-love, that self-respect kind of comes through naturally when you feel your best. And you know, maybe that's what people pick up on, that's what guys pick up on. And so I'd say when you're living your best life, you can kind of be your best self out in the dating scene.
Oh, I totally agree. Thank you for that. That was awesome. Where can people reach you if they want to get a hold of you?
You can find me at Nadia Jagesssar on Instagram, or you can find me at Euphoria Events NJ if you know have any questions about events, or you know, you just want to get advice on, you know, maybe starting a business or anything like that. Please feel free to reach out. I'd love to connect.
Yeah, you also have your website, right?
Yes. Yeah. On the website, you can go check out some of our services. If you have, again, any questions, you can submit an inquiry and we're happy to help.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you again, Nadia.
Thank
I adore
you.
you. Thanks for coming on
Of
here. I
course.
can't wait to see how your life unfolds from here. I mean, I just remember like looking at your Instagram followers just skyrocketing. I was like, work.
I can't wait to see either. I have no idea where this journey is taking me, but I am along for the ride and I'm loving it so far. So yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. I hope I get to see and dance with you again soon.
I was like supposed to be in California like 3 times already this year, but obviously, for reasons, but hopefully soon.
Yeah. So anyway, thank you again.
Yeah.
Until next
Until next
time.
time. Bye.
Bye.